You walk into a friend's new apartment for the first time. You've never been here. You don't know the city well. But as you step through the door, a chill runs down your spine. You've stood in this exact spot before. You knew the kitchen would be on the left before you saw it. You knew, somehow, what your friend was about to say next. And then the feeling vanishes as quickly as it arrived, leaving you standing there, slightly dizzy, slightly unsettled, asking yourself the same question humans have asked for centuries. Have I been here before? The answer is no, you haven't. So what just happened? That sensation has a name. Deja vu, French for already seen. And here's the thing that should puzzle you. Roughly 60 to 70% of people experience it at some point in their lives, most commonly between the ages of 15 and 25. It is one of the most universal brain glitches a human being can have, and yet for over a century, scientists could not agree on what causes it. Some called it a memory error. Some called it a glimpse of a parallel life. For a long time, it sat in the same category as ghosts and premonitions, too strange to study seriously. That changed. To understand deja vu, you have to go inside the temporal lobe, specifically a small seahorse-shaped structure called the hippocampus. The hippocampus is your brain's filing system. Every time you experience something new, it tags the moment, compares it against everything you've stored, and decides whether it's familiar or novel. Sitting right beside it is the rhinal cortex, which handles a faster, cruder kind of judgment, a gut-level sense of "I know this," that fires before the hippocampus has finished its detailed cross-check. Under normal conditions, these two systems work in sync. Familiarity and memory arrive together. Deja vu happens when they don't. The most influential research on this came from Akira O'Connor, a psychologist at the University of St. Andrews. O'Connor and his team used a clever trick borrowed from false memory research. They fed participants lists of related words: bed, pillow, night, dream, yawn, but deliberately left out the one word that ties them all together: sleep. Later, they asked participants whether they'd heard the word sleep. Most said no, correctly. But brain scans showed something remarkable happening in the frontal regions, areas associated with decision-making and conflict resolution, not memory storage. O'Connor concluded that deja vu isn't your memory malfunctioning, it's your brain's error-checking system working perfectly, catching a false alarm before it becomes a false memory. In other words, deja vu may actually be proof that your memory is healthy, not broken. There's a second, older theory that still holds weight, and it comes down to speed. Your brain processes information through two pathways, a fast subconscious route and a slightly slower conscious one. Normally, these arrive close enough together that you never notice the gap, but if the fast pathway gets a half-second head start, perhaps from a momentary lapse in attention, a flicker of distraction, your brain registers a scene twice, microseconds apart. The second pass feels like memory because, neurologically, it is one. Your conscious mind catches up and stitches the two signals together into a single eerie sensation. You're not remembering the past, you're remembering 9/10 of a second ago. There's also a striking medical clue buried in epilepsy research. Patients with temporal lobe epilepsy, particularly those with seizures originating near the hippocampus, report deja vu constantly. Sometimes as a direct precursor to a seizure, neurosurgeon Penfield discovered decades ago that directly stimulating the temporal lobe with electrodes during surgery could trigger deja vu in fully conscious patients on command. That single fact tells researchers something crucial. Deja vu isn't mystical, it's electrical. It is a specific, locatable, reproducible event in a specific region of the brain, which means it can be studied like any other neurological phenomenon, not dismissed as folklore. Age plays a strange role here too. Deja vu is most common in young adults and tends to decline sharply after age 40, then nearly vanish in old age. Researchers believe this is because the frontal lobe, the region responsible for catching memory errors, is still maturing through your 20s. A still developing error-checking system may simply throw more false alarms, the same way a new smoke detector might trip more easily before it's properly calibrated. People who travel frequently and remember their dreams in detail also report more deja vu, likely because both habits expose the brain to a wider library of fragmented, half-familiar sensory details that can be misfired against new experiences. This is also why deja vu so often strikes during mundane moments. Standing in a doorway, mid-sentence in a conversation, walking down a hallway. These are scenes built from generic spatial layouts. Doorways, corners, rooms, the same basic shapes your brain has filed away thousands of times before. Researchers at Colorado State University, led by Ann Cleary, found that when a new scene shares a similar spatial layout to a place you've genuinely forgotten, the brain registers partial familiarity without being able to consciously place why. Your brain isn't lying to you. It's recognizing a pattern buried in a memory it can't fully retrieve, and that mismatch between recognition and recall is what you experience as deja vu. So the next time that shiver runs through you in an unfamiliar room, know that you're not glimpsing another timeline and your brain isn't broken. You're watching two finely tuned systems, memory and familiarity, fall out of step for less than a second before snapping back into place. It's not a flaw, it's evidence of a brain working hard enough to catch its own mistakes in real time. Every doorway, every hallway, every half-finished sentence that feels strangely familiar is just your mind double-checking its own work. So the next time it happens, don't be unsettled. Just smile, because somewhere in your skull, a tiny alarm system just did exactly its job.